A deep, sinister chuckle echoes all around, and Gregory tries to find the source of it. Suddenly, a pixelated chain shoots out from the darkness and wraps around Gregory, making it impossible for him to move. He falls to the ground with a thud. He tries to break free, but is unable to. Sensing a presence, Gregory looks up to see a transparent, glitchy person wearing a bulky, deranged rabbit suit. It looked way more messed up and unsettling than Vanny's, if that's even possible. "You've put on quite the performance, young man. I must commend your achievements." Hello everyone, my name's Ayla, and we have been graced with another installment of Five Nights at Freddy's. This time, it's the 80s-inspired free roam game, Security Breach. It comes to us with the bulk of neat experiences, such as multiple bugs, some hilarious and others frustrating, fetch quests galore, which I know is absolutely delightful across a humongous map, and speaking of map, there are promises of marking things on the map that are just full of lies, and thus it's quite easy to get lost. We have a wonderful saving mechanic where autosave is mostly non-existent and save spots are usually far in between, cyclical dialogue from the animatronics who are hunting, a forced hard mode that most players don't sign up for but are forced to endure if they want the true ending, and last but not least, missed opportunities. And you know what that means? It's rewrite time. Shout out to Matt Pat for inspiring some of my story beats. So sit back, relax, and listen to my version of Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach. Gregory is a 9-year-old foster kid who lives with a family that does not appreciate him. They often complain about him being there and take jabs at him for his interests. At some point, Gregory starts to suspect that he will be sent off to a new family soon and has had enough of being tossed around like a rag doll. He'd rather live on his own. There will be less disappointment that way. So one night, Gregory runs away from his foster home and finds himself at Freddy Fazbear's Mega Pizzaplex and decides that that was where he wanted to live. After all, it has food, clothes, bathrooms, and entertainment. What more is necessary? Having the animatronics and random kids as his friends would be more productive than that jerk of a family he lives with. But how to get inside and stay inside? Shouldn't be much of a problem. Gregory is actually a bit of a genius and fairly street smart at that. His specialties lie in technology and electronics. There is very little that he can't hack or create when given enough time and resources. He might have caused a little technical trouble to his past foster families, but that was only after they decided he was a nuisance for literally no reason. The current family was no different. Other kids always thought he was pretty cool, if not a little bit of a nerd. So why couldn't his families ever appreciate him? No matter. He'd be right at home at the Pizzaplex. Using his charms, Gregory managed to convince a kid who was having a party at the Pizzaplex to invite him to his party. It would be a lot less suspicious for him to join a crowd of people who were already planned to be there than to enter by himself without an adult. While there, Gregory enjoyed himself by playing games and eating the food provided. He'd also take special note of the security cameras, their placements, and any personnel that seemed official and might become a problem. When night came, Gregory managed to outsmart the guards and bots and found hidden crevices in the blind spots of cameras to sleep and make his camp. There was a bit of a learning curve to Gregory's living situation. He learned how to hack the various machines so that they would provide for him the money and passes he needed to get to attractions, eat, and buy clothes. He also paid attention to the human staff and their shifts so that he would know when to approach vendors. And if things got dicey, he'd wear a mask provided by the Pizzaplex when he went to buy stuff as to not get recognized. The staff were none the wiser. Well, that is, except for Vanessa, the new nighttime security guard. Every night when the Pizzaplex was about to close, she'd notice Gregory. Every night, in the crowd, there always seemed to be this kid who looks exactly the same as a certain kid from the night before, just wearing different outfits. Sometimes the kid would wear a mask, but otherwise looked the same. Of course, the kid was pretty generic looking. He had no special features about him, so it was entirely possible that some of these kids looked similar. Seeing hundreds, if not thousands, of faceless children run in and out every day will make them all look the same. But there was something about this kid. Vanessa decided to keep an eye on him. Gregory manages to hide out at the Pizzaplex for a few months. He was sure his foster family had sent out a missing persons report and were scrambling to find him. However, He was sure it was more so that they didn't want to get in trouble, more than them actually being concerned about him. He didn't care though. Life was a bit tricky, but he enjoyed being at the Pizzaplex. It was a cool atmosphere and he made friends from all of the parties he's crashed. However, one day, Gregory manages to get his hands on a newspaper. One of the kids he befriended went missing. The days went on. Another kid, and another kid, and another kid. All of them were friends he met at the Pizzaplex. There were a few kids he didn't recognize, but he definitely knew some of them. What's going on? All of those kids were super nice to him, were all fun to hang out with. Did they all run away too? No, something was up. Gregory was worried about his friends. It was weird, right? Why is it that the missing children were all kids who were at the Pizzaplex? How come there weren't any police investigations or the Pizzaplex shutting down? Surely the police knew of the connection between them all, right? Then again, if the kids disappeared a day or more after their visit to the Pizzaplex, then it'd be hard to connect them all to it. Gregory was the only one who knew. One more kid went missing. Alright, that's the last straw, Gregory thought. I have to do something about this since I'm the only one who can. Besides, since I'm here all the time, I could be next, so I need to find out what's happening. Gregory formulates a plan. Around this time, Vanessa decides to confront this kid who seems to be around every day with the other kids. There's just no way it's a coincidence. It must be the same kid. She knows he snuck in and never left. Gregory caught sight of Vanessa a while ago. He noticed how she seemed to stare at him more than the other human staff would, so he actively stayed away from her. This time, though, he could tell that she was specifically targeting him, so he evaded her even more strategically. If he was going to solve the mystery of the Pizzaplex, he couldn't get caught by her. Using parts of the machinery in the Pizzaplex and some spare parts, Gregory creates a machine that sends out electrical jamming waves that would disrupt the Freddy Fazbear and crew's concert. He needed to cause a big enough distraction that would get Vanessa off his back and one that would clear out the Pizzaplex for a few days. He didn't know what kind of chaos his invention would cause, but as long as it worked, he didn't care. While the animatronics played on stage, Vanessa fought through the crowd to get to Gregory. This was when Gregory pushed the button on his machine. The machine causes Freddy on stage to go haywire and shut down, causing a lot of confusion from staff and customers. The electricity in the room also flickers sporadically, making some of the kids freak out and run around. Vanessa is then overwhelmed by the chaos and trying to help her coworkers calm everyone down. Gregory uses this as an opportunity to get backstage. There is a moment when the shutdown Freddy is by himself, and this is when Gregory remembers that this animatronic has a storage unit in his chest that usually occupies cakes in piñatas. Gregory takes his time to open the hatch and get inside of the robot. Sometime during the confusion, Gregory dropped his jamming machine. By this point, the technicians come and take Freddy away. Some time passes and the Pizzaplex begins to close. Vanessa keeps a close eye on everyone who is leaving and notices that Gregory never left with them. He's definitely still in the Pizzaplex somewhere. She thinks to herself, that kid. Doesn't he know how much trouble he's in? I have to get him out of here before it's too late. And so she dedicates her night to locating him. During this time, Freddy powers back on into safe mode and finds himself in his green room. When Freddy speaks out loud, Gregory makes himself known to the bear. Once outside of Freddy, the two introduce themselves to each other. Gregory lies and said he was trying to leave earlier, but the scary security lady was after him for some reason, so he hid from her out of fear. He tells him that the security lady had been looking at him funny the entire day, and so he doesn't want to go near her. Freddy believes this and promises that he will help Gregory leave the Pizzaplex in a safe manner. Freddy gives Gregory the Fazwatch so that the two can communicate. Gregory helps Freddy leave his green room and the two of them use the utility tunnels to try and make a break for the exit. When Freddy senses that Vanessa is near, he hides Gregory in a first aid station. Vanessa confronts Freddy and she tells him to keep an eye out for that kid. She tells him that he's been sneaking around, that he needs to be found as soon as possible or something bad might happen. Her tone is super exasperated and non-sympathetic that Freddy has a hard time believing that she has a pure motive. Nonetheless, Freddy lies and says he'll help look for Gregory and will contact her when he finds him. He also asks Vanessa why she's so stressed out. Even if there is a kid wandering around, he should be safe, right? no one in the Pizzaplex would ever hurt him. This comment made Vanessa super tense, and she avoids his gaze. She then avoids the question and stutters, telling him that she recruited the other bots to look for him as well. She then leaves. So in this version of the story, Freddy doesn't know about the missing kids, so he has no reason to suspect that the Pizzaplex is dangerous. Freddy then helps Gregory to the exit. Unfortunately, the two of them are too late and end up getting trapped in the Pizzaplex until 6 a.m. Gregory pretends to be upset about being locked in the Pizzaplex all night. Freddy suggests that Gregory find a safe place to stay until 6 a.m., perhaps behind his green room? Gregory tells Freddy that that sounds boring. Besides, Vanessa is more likely to find him if he stays in one place. Gregory suggests looking around to see if they find anything interesting. Like what? Freddy asks. Oh, you know. Gregory tries to come up with an excuse but finds it hard to do so. He then sighs and says, okay, look, some of my friends have gone missing and I think it has something to do with the Pizzaplex. Freddy is sympathetic towards Gregory's lost friends, but is surprised at this accusation and tries to assure the little boy that the Pizzaplex is one of the safest places on Earth. Why do you think the Pizzaplex has something to do with your friend's disappearance? Is it because of Officer Vanessa? I don't know. I just want to find out what's going on. If I'm trapped here for the night, why not make sure? If you're so sure that the Pizzaplex is safe, then there should be no trouble if we investigate, right? Freddy thinks. I guess it should be no problem. It is then that Freddy updates Gregory's Fazwatch and gives him the ability to use the security cameras to watch out for the other animatronics and staff bots. Gregory asks why the Fazwatches have the ability to access the security cameras. Freddy replies that they usually don't, but Gregory is a special circumstance. And so, the night begins with Gregory and Freddy looking for clues. Before they can make any progress, Freddy runs out of power and has to leave Gregory to fend for himself for a little while as he recharges. Gregory is then forced to sneak around and avoid detection. There were a lot of security bots around the facility. He noticed that a long time ago and used to wonder why, but never gave it too much thought as he'd usually just camp in one place for the night. The Pizzaplex is pretty huge, but doesn't the amount of security bots seem like overkill? Or do they know something that he doesn't? Using his technological knowledge, as well as the knowledge he's gathered from living there, Gregory is able to hack and force his way into many of the locked rooms that require higher security clearance. Some places are chained off, though, and he can't get through. He figured he didn't need to get to those places, though. He goes to whatever computer he can find and hacks into the system, taking note of all emails and suspicious documents or notes. While looking around, Glamrock Chica, Montgomery Gator, known as Monty, and Roxanne Wolf, known as Roxy, locate Gregory and chase him around in a threatening manner. Nothing about their actions suggests that they just want to help him. Unlike Freddy, they were out for blood and wouldn't listen to reason. Gregory, fearing for his life, manages to get away from them. Freddy, now charged, tells Gregory to meet him on the other side of the daycare. Gregory didn't want to go into the daycare as he had seen the daycare attendant before and thought he was pretty creepy. However, he didn't have a choice, so Gregory makes his way to the daycare and runs into the daycare attendant, Sun. Sun is super friendly to Gregory, if not a bit overbearing. He wants to play with Gregory and keep him safe in the daycare. Not wanting to waste his time there, Gregory accidentally backs up into a stack of toys and knocks them down. This causes Sun to freak out over the mess and get distracted trying to clean them up. This is when the lights mysteriously go out. The darkness triggers Sun to convulse and transform into his even creepier and malevolent alter ego, Moon. Moon stalks Gregory and threatens him. Gregory fumbles through the daycare trying to avoid Moon as he fixes the generators that were scattered throughout the area. He eventually manages to get them and the lights back on. Not wanting to stay around any longer, Gregory escapes the daycare without running into the daycare attendant again. He hears the evil animatronics hunting nearby. Fortunately, Freddy arrived and Gregory went inside of his chest cavity and stayed very quiet. Chica, Monty, and Roxy confront Freddy, asking if he's seen the kid. Freddy says he hasn't. Chica makes a comment that the children are usually a lot easier to capture than this. She doesn't know why this one is so tough. This statement shocks Freddy, but he keeps it cool. Roxy says she's getting annoyed. As much fun as the hunt is, she's not a regular wolf and has better things to do than waste her time playing hide and seek. When she finds the kid, she'll rip him to shreds. Monty comments that that's his thing and that she should find an original way to kill. Roxy tells him that he didn't invent using claws. Jeez, ever since you got that new upgrade, you think you're the only one capable of using your hands. I get bored crushing them with my mouth, you stupid gator. Guys, does it matter who kills them and how? As long as it gets done, that's what matters, right? Freddy is horrified hearing his friends talk like murderers. However, he knows if he says anything contrary to what they're talking about, they'll figure out he's not one of them. Freddy manages to assure them that he'll look for the kid and end him. They should split up instead of being in one area. They agree and continue their hunt. Freddy and Gregory get somewhere safe and talk. Gregory tells Freddy, "I told you so." Freddy says he doesn't understand. It must have been a joke. Really? Do your friends usually joke like that? Gregory asks. Well, no, but I know those guys. They're friendly and would never hurt a child, Freddy tells him. They've done nothing but try to hurt me, Gregory says. Freddy remains in denial and says he doesn't want to see anything bad happen to his friends. The two of them continue to search around the Pizzaplex for clues. Meanwhile, the daycare attendant, now as son, is worried about Gregory as he didn't know where he went. He's no longer safe. Moon must have scared him off, that big bully. Vanessa meets up with him, asking where the kid was. Son frantically apologizes, but said he didn't know. He was there one moment, and then he fell asleep after the lights went off. The lights came back on, and poof, the kid was gone. Vanessa knows exactly who turned the lights out. It must have been her, she mutters. Son asks Vanessa what they're going to do. Vanessa says she'll continue to look for the kid. Son is still super upset and feels bad. Vanessa warms up and pats him on the shoulder, saying it wasn't his fault. He did his best. This makes Son feel a bit better. Son asks what if he turns into Moon again. He feels like he's losing control. Vanessa, now saddened, so they'll just have to hope for the best. She has to admit that the kid is pretty good at not getting found, so maybe he'll be able to escape. She knows she can't take that chance though and keeps searching for Gregory. During the end of the hour, Freddy, with Gregory inside of him, goes into a recharge station. This is when Gregory notices a girl in a full bunny suit with big red eyes skipping around the area. Freddy is about to exit the station, but Gregory quietly tells him to stay inside. Freddy is confused, but complies. Once the bunny girl was gone, Gregory tells Freddy he can leave. He asks Freddy who that was, and Freddy says he didn't see anyone. Gregory says he saw a skipping rabbit lady, but Freddy sadly says that there hasn't been a rabbit character at the Pizzaplex for a long time. Gregory wants to know who the heck that was, and why were the other animatronics so murdery. One thing is for sure, he knows with 100% certainty that the disappearances happened because of whatever is going on at the Pizzaplex. He then gets sad knowing his friends got killed. Yes, he was scared too, but now he has even more determination to find out the Pizzaplex's secrets and put an end to all of this. He needs to stop the animatronics, that's for sure. But how? He can't get close enough to dismantle them, and even if he could, that might not fix the overall problem. Someone made them that way, and unless he stops that person, kids will keep being targeted by those robots. Freddy says that he doesn't want his friends to get dismantled. He begs Gregory to believe him that they weren't always like that. Gregory wonders if that rabbit lady was to blame. He had been living at the Pizzaplex for a long time and never saw her. Freddy doesn't think that the rabbit lady is real. Perhaps she is just a figment of Gregory's imagination due to the stress of everything that's happening. Gregory lashes out at Freddy. You want me to believe you about your friends, but you won't believe me about the rabbit lady? I'm not crazy! Freddy feels bad for making Gregory upset. I'm truly sorry, Gregory. I didn't want to make you angry with me. Maybe if this rabbit lady does exist, maybe she did something to my programming so that I wouldn't be able to see her. Would that be possible? Gregory ponders on that. The two continue to look around and search for clues. Gregory gathers more and more evidence from the computers that things going on behind the scenes at the Pizzaplex aren't as squeaky clean as the customers might think. Sketchy staff and management practices, faulty programs for the animatronics, questionable business decisions, the list goes on. There were even some emails about the security guard, Vanessa. Apparently, she got hired on special recommendation despite having no prior experience. That's odd. Somewhere along the way, Vanessa accidentally drops her cell phone as she searches for Gregory. Gregory finds it and instantly hacks into it. He reads all of her messages, notes, emails, and even her diary. Gregory learns about Vanessa's old job as a game tester for the Freddy Fazbear VR game that came out some time ago. He noticed that her personality started to change after her time at that job ended. The way she wrote her texts and emails changed, as the writing style completely different from before. And in some places, it seems like she's having a conversation with herself, and yet not herself. One of the sides types out manipulative statements, and the other side sounds more submissive. Gregory continues to read. He notices some entries where Vanessa says that she wants to do the right thing, but she doesn't know what that is. She says all she does is hurt people. Then she writes, "Can I save the kid?" Kid? What kid? Gregory asks himself. Why is everything she writes so weird? It's almost like it's two different people talking. He searches the phone some more and notices some familiar pictures. He sees a picture of a costume of that rabbit lady. The rabbit lady is Vanessa? Freddy is also shocked. He also apologizes to Gregory, as it appears what Gregory saw was real. It appears like the rabbit lady is named Vanny. Gregory and Freddy are super confused about everything. Why is she pretending to be a security guard? If all the bots are under her control, then why dress up at all? He was sure she had access to the security cameras, so if she wanted to shut them off, she could. Was it to get him to lower his defenses? Then why put on the rabbit suit at all? No rational person would make the decisions she's made. Unless... He thinks about how her messages sounded. 2 people. Is Vanessa 2 people? Gregory starts to wonder if Vanessa's possessed by a ghost or something. He doesn't say this idea out loud because he doesn't want to be doubted by Freddy again. The duo then continue to search around the Pizzaplex for clues. Gregory and Freddy split up since there's a location that Freddy can't access since he's too big. When Gregory's guard was down, Vanessa managed to catch him. Gregory kicked and struggled, trying to get away from her, but he couldn't overpower her. Vanessa attempted to drag Gregory to an exit. She tells him she won't call the cops, but he's got to go home. Just as Vanessa is pulling him along, she pauses. She feels like something is about to happen and has a worried expression on her face. She quickly takes Gregory to a security office and locks him inside as she stays outside of it. Ensuring he's stuck in there, Vanessa runs away. Gregory thought that was weird. If she wanted to kill him, why didn't she? The Fazwatch didn't seem to be working as Freddy wouldn't respond. Suddenly, Gregory sees Vanny skipping towards the office. Using his quick thinking, Gregory manages to escape through a vent. Why would Vanessa leave him alone only to get dressed in her bunny suit to come back and kill him? It makes no sense! Gregory frantically, but carefully, goes around the Pizzaplex looking for Freddy. Roxy, Monty, and Chica continue to hunt for him and manage to find him a few times, chasing him to kill him. But each time, Gregory outsmarts them. Eventually, Gregory is able to find Freddy, but Freddy is damaged and low on power. Gregory is worried about him and wants to help him. But just as the two try to come up with a plan to fix Freddy, Freddy hears something and tells Gregory to hide inside of a nearby recharge station. Gregory complies. Looking out from the viewing window, Gregory watches on in horror as Moon pops up and takes Freddy away to who knows where. Unable to confront him, Gregory waits until the two of them are gone. Once outside of the recharge station, Gregory searches for Freddy, making sure to stay out of the view of the animatronics and staff bots. Eventually, Gregory makes it to parts and service where he sees Freddy lying on a table inside of some kind of technological cylinder room. Freddy's head is disconnected from his body, and in the same room is Vanessa. "Where's the kid, Freddy? I know you've been helping him, and I know you know his name is Gregory. Want to know how I know? Your Fazwatch has been recording your interactions with him." Freddy denies this and says all Fazwatches use his voice. "Do you understand the hot water you're in? Just tell me where Gregory is so that I can get him out of this place already." "If you let me go, I can help you look for him," Freddy suggests. "If I find him, I'll get him to an exit." Vanessa shakes her head. "I'm sorry, Freddy. You can think you're helping him all you want, but I just can't trust you." She then walks away and leaves him. Once the coast is clear, Gregory goes up to Freddy, who is glad to see that the boy is safe. Gregory then reattaches Freddy's head with the machinery and frees him. Gregory then notices the blueprints on the wall that shows the 4 animatronics' body upgrades. Roxy has eyes that can see almost anything, even other machines and items through the walls. Chica has a voice box that can damage other machinery as well as injure some humans. Monty has claws that were installed to help him play the bass, but also double as means for him to thrash through things. And Freddy has his chest cavity for storing cakes and piñatas. And... Freddy? I remember that Roxy said something earlier about Monty acting different once he got his new claws. Does that sound about right to you, too? Gregory asked.
It might. My memory, for some reason, is a little scrambled, and I don't know why, Freddy admits.
How long ago did you get all those upgrades? Gregory asked him.
I think I can remember that. It's been a little over a month, I think. Maybe 2 months, Freddy responds.
That's when the kids started to go missing, Gregory thinks to himself. Freddy, why aren't you attacking me like your friends are? Why are you different? Freddy says he doesn't know. Gregory realized that Freddy's chest cavity is in fact big enough to stuff children. He's living proof of that. But was Freddy ever one of them? He just seems too nice to do something like that. In any case, Gregory comes up with a plan. He thinks it would be best to somehow get the other animatronics upgrades and give them to Freddy. Since Freddy is immune for some reason, they can use the upgrades against the enemy. Gregory suggests this to Freddy, but Freddy declines. He doesn't want to do anything that will hurt his friends. Gregory says under his breath that his friends get what they deserve for trying to kill him all night. Decommissioning them might do them a favor. Freddy then suggests to Gregory to get hold of a phaser blaster or a phascam, or both, because the bots in the facility are sensitive to bright lights and it'll cause them to malfunction for a few moments. That might give Gregory a good means to defend himself. Gregory takes Freddy up on that offer and goes to fetch a phascam from Monty Golf. Gregory enters in a way that Freddy cannot fit, so Gregory must go at it alone. After hacking into a computer in the area, Gregory learns of a way to deal with Monty. In the rafters above Monty Golf, Gregory manages to lure in Monty, who isn't willing to show Gregory any mercy. Gregory, while evading Monty, who's trying to launch and stomp on the kid, Gregory manages to fill up a large hole in one bucket with a bunch of balls. Once Monty was in position, Gregory released the bucket and all of the balls fall into Monty, making him drop from the rafters, landing on a bar that splits the gator in half. Once he was sure that Monty was no longer moving, Gregory takes his claws and leaves the area, but not before finding a phascam and taking it with him. After meeting back up with Freddy and not telling him anything that happened, they go back to parts and service so that Gregory could upgrade Freddy with Monty's claws. Freddy asks where the claws came from, but Gregory ignores the question and asks Freddy if they'll be useful for him. Freddy agrees that they'll be super useful for getting into areas they couldn't enter before. He'll also be able to defend them a lot better. So with this, the two continue on their mission. Vanny shows up again and Freddy still can't see her. Gregory tells Freddy where to hit and where to charge so that he can hit her. Vanny manages to easily evade since he can't see her. Since Freddy was distracted, Gregory uses this as an opportunity to find a way to decommission Chica on his own. Gregory eventually finds out from some computer files that Chica is obsessed with pizza and Monty Mystery Mix and has gone and gotten herself into trouble before because of this obsession. Gregory reads on and comes up with an idea. After making some pizza and finding said mystery mix, Gregory lures Chica to the kitchen and places the food in the large garbage compactor. Being none the wiser, Chica takes the bait and starts to eat. Gregory starts up the machine, pushes Chica down, making sure that she gets crushed. Just before the machine can do its job on her, Chica grabs Gregory's leg. Chica gets crushed, but her grip maintains, so both she and Gregory fall down into the garbage dump sewer underneath the Pizzaplex. Chica is now crushed and no longer moving. Gregory takes her voice box and makes his way out of the sewer. As he makes his way back up, he hears some disturbing electrical sounds. He looks back and sees that he's being stalked by a broken, non-verbal Chica. Now in panic mode, Gregory sprints upstairs into safety, losing Chica along the way. She might be a problem later, he thinks to himself. This is when Freddy finds him and expresses how happy he is that Gregory is alright. He's so sorry that Vanny scared Gregory away. Yeah, that's what happened, Gregory replied. The two of them then return back to parts and service where Gregory installs Chica's voice box into Freddy. Once again, Freddy asks where he got the voice box. Gregory slips and reveals that it's Chica's. Freddy panics and asks what happened. Gregory lies and said she had an accident where she fell into the garbage compactor and got crushed. He then assures Freddy that Chica is still functional, which Freddy seems relieved about. Gregory wonders how to take out Roxy. He makes a comment that they haven't been to Roxy Raceway yet, and Freddy agrees to take him there. After some snooping on some more computers, Gregory finds out how to deal with Roxy. Gregory lies and says that he wants to take a break from sleuthing as it's mentally exhausting for him. Gregory says he wants to play on the go-karts. Freddy thinks that sounds like fun. When they find a go-kart, they realize that Gregory is too short to ride it by himself, so they need a rider assist bot to drive with him. Unfortunately, the available bot is missing its head, so Gregory has to find a new one. Freddy tells them that there are spare robot parts near the arcade on the other side of the Pizzaplex. Gregory will need a dance pass, which is easy enough to get. Freddy says he can't go there because he has a bug that makes him dance whenever he hears the music the DJ plays in that area. So, Gregory goes by himself to get the head. During this time, Vanny sees Gregory and messes with the programming of the humongous spider-like DJ Music Man, putting him in security mode and making him think that Gregory was an intruder. So, Gregory, terrified of the giant animatronic, runs around invading the robot as he manages to get the robot head. After some time and another chase sequence, Gregory makes it back to Roxy Raceway and fixes the headless robot. Getting into the cart, they drive onto the track. Roxy sees them and instantly gets into competitive mode. She jumps onto the track directly in front of them. Once they're close enough, Gregory jumps out of the cart, sending the cart tumbling violently towards Roxy, who takes the brunt of the crash. After the commotion had ended, Roxy was found motionless and broken. Gregory then took out her eyes and proceeded to look for Freddy. Much to Gregory's horror, Roxy stood up and began to chase him, using only her ears to find him since she could no longer see. After a harrowing escape, Gregory managed to lose her and met back up with Freddy. The two of them head back to parts and service for the last time, and Gregory installs the eyes. Freddy correctly guesses that these are Roxy's eyes, and Gregory admits to it. Gregory says that Roxy got into an accident on the raceway. When Freddy asks if she's okay, Gregory responds that nothing seems to stop her. When the two of them leave parts and service and head back up to the atrium, the screens in the Pizzaplex begin to show nothing but static. A few seconds later, a video is played showing feed from the security cams that shows what Gregory did to Freddy's friends. Gregory tells Freddy to look away and that it's all lies.
You lied to me,
Freddy says. Gregory tried to reason with him. No! Freddy, you don't understand. Freddy cut him off.
You hurt my friends and you lied to me. How could you?
Gregory lashes out. Okay, yeah, you know what? I did it, okay? They were trying to kill me, Freddy. I did what I had to do to protect you, myself, and the other kids.
You didn't need any more protection. Wasn't I doing a good job protecting you? And you did a good job staying hidden. You didn't have to do all of this. My friends are being controlled, and you know that. Why hurt innocent people like that?
Freddy's sadness and anger could be heard in his voice. Gregory responds without thinking, Because they aren't!
You're about to say they aren't people, aren't you? It's true. We're just robots. But can't you see we're more than that? I thought you considered me a friend, but I'm just a thing to you. A tool.
No, Freddy, that's not... Freddy turns his back to Gregory.
Goodbye, Gregory, and good luck.
Freddy runs away, dejected. Gregory cries and tries to run to Freddy, but he once again sees Vanny and she starts to chase after him. Gregory has no choice but to run away in a different direction so he doesn't get caught. He manages to lose her, but finds himself in a very scary situation. He's in a small area and all three broken animatronics, Chica, Roxy, and Monty, manage to find him and corner him. Just when he thought he was about to die, Roxy says, Hey kids, stop your crying. We're not gonna hurt you. I mean, that is you crying, right? All I hear are sniffles.
Yeah, he's crying, Monty confirms.
I don't believe you, Gregory cries out. You're going to kill me.
No, we ain't. Not anymore, Monty says.
If we wanted to kill you, we would have done it already, Roxy says. Chica can't comment because she has no voice box, so she just nods. Still not convinced, Gregory stays defensive. Roxy clumsily walks up to him and reaches out for him. Once she feels his head, she pats it gently.
Do you believe me now, or are you gonna make me beg like a dog? I'm not doing that, by the way.
Gregory stops trembling. What's going on? He then remembered that it was their upgrades that made them evil to begin with. When he took them away, the control over them was gone.
We just wanted to thank you for freeing us. We haven't been ourselves for the longest time, Monty says. Did you have to be so savage, though? Splitting me in half was not alright. You also lost me my favorite sunglasses.
You all were trying to kill me, Gregory retorted.
Kid's got a point,
Roxy said. Monty then agreed with her. These animatronics do seem to be nice and neutralized now. There would be no point in pretending if their goal was to kill Gregory. So, he finally relaxed around them. Roxy asked what happened to Freddy. Wasn't he with Gregory? Gregory explained what happened.
Wow, and I thought I was harsh. Still, I'm sure what you did looked pretty bad on camera,
Roxy said. Gee, thanks. That only made Gregory feel worse.
Don't worry about it, kid. You have us now. We'll protect you and get you out of here,
Monty told him. I don't want to get out of here just yet, Gregory says. I want to put an end to the killings and disappearances. I want to defeat Vanny.
How the heck are you gonna do that?
Monty asked. I don't know, Gregory replied. Gregory and his new friends leave that small area and head back up to the atrium. Just as they emerge, Vanny pops up and launches herself at Gregory. Just like Freddy, the three of them are unable to see her. Roxy is able to hear her though, so she blocks Gregory by using herself as a shield. Before Vanny could even reach Gregory, Freddy runs up out of nowhere and tackles Vanny, throwing her off to the side. Freddy declares that he can see her now with his new eyes and will be able to protect his friends. Vanny, now seeing that Gregory has a lot of protection, runs away. Freddy reunites with Roxy, Monty, and Chica, apologizing to them for all the trouble that they've been through. They brush it off and are just happy to be themselves again, and it's all thanks to Gregory. Gregory and Freddy apologize to each other. Freddy says he acted irrationally and knows that Gregory, though very smart and clever, is still just a little boy who was very scared. His actions made sense. Gregory apologized for not being honest with Freddy. Gregory asks if they are still friends, and Freddy says they are.
This is beautiful and all, Roxy says sarcastically, but I'm confused about something. When did Freddy stop being evil?
Before tonight, he'd have no problem luring in kids and killing them.
What? I did no such thing, Freddy said, offended. Sorry, brother, but you did, Monty confirmed. Why do you think they gave you that chest upgrade?
My chest upgrade? Freddy felt his chest. It's just like I thought, Gregory thought to himself. So, you said tonight was the first time Freddy has been good? Chica nodded. Then that means... Gregory gasped as he remembered their concert earlier. It must have been my jammer!
Your... what?
The animatronics asked. Before your concert tonight, I made a device that would cause a distraction so that I could snoop around. That device is what made Freddy malfunction on stage. I guess what I made did something with that controlling program inside of Freddy and made it stop working.
How come that didn't work for the rest of us? Monty asked.
No idea, but frankly, who cares? Gregory said. It all worked out in the end.
Maybe it worked out for Freddy. He got to keep his chest while I lost my beautiful eyes,
Roxy complained. At least you have your free will, Gregory told her.
And you are still very beautiful, Roxy, Freddy assured her.
I already know that. I don't need your pity, she roared at him. Anyway, kid, can you make another jammer thing? I want my eyes back. I don't know if I can make it exactly the same way as before. I still don't know why it only affected Freddy. I don't even know if I have enough time to do that anyway. Who knows what Vanny is doing right now? Roxy growled.
Ugh, fine. Freddy, I give you permission to use my eyes to defeat the bad guy. Just don't mess them up. I'll do my best, Freddy says.
Chica pats him on the shoulder supportively.
You keep doing your thing, kid, and the rest of us will take out the staff bots so that Vanny won't find you, Monty said. I might be half of myself, but I'm still all Gator. They won't stand a chance.
And so, the crew work together to go through the Pizzaplex. The animatronics fight off the bots and Gregory searches for more clues. Gregory uses his upgrades to find hidden clues, stun bots, and open areas he couldn't before. Eventually, Gregory manages to find Vanny's hideout above Blast. He sees the Princess Quest arcade cabinet. He remembers that game. He used to play it and how at the end, the princess got possessed by an evil spirit. That sounds familiar. Gregory tells Freddy and his friends about his theory about Vanessa being possessed. They all believe him. Freddy wonders if they are dealing with ghosts then. Gregory doesn't think so. At least, it's not a regular ghost. Gregory tells them about the VR game that Vanessa tested and how something must have happened while she was playing it. Something went into her head and changed her. Somehow, they need to get into Vanessa's head. "We need to save the princess," Gregory declares.
I was not aware that Vanessa was royalty,
Freddy said, confused. Embarrassed, Gregory says, "Never mind." And he comes up with a plan and fills them in on it. Gregory gets one of the arcade cabinets, a Princess Quest one, and disassembles parts of it and a separate VR machine and uses his skills to fuse them together, with some extra features. After about an hour or so, his invention is completed. Hopefully, with this super complex, don't think about it too hard technology, they should be able to put an end to this mess. And so, the plan is set in motion. Gregory goes out into the open without any of his animatronic friends in view. He allows himself to get detected by the staff bots who alert Vanny of his location. Seeing that he's by himself, Vanny aims right for him. Before she can get too close, Freddy rushes onto the scene and tackles her, making it so that she can't get away. Daycare attendant Moon swoops in from above and attempts to grab Gregory, but Chica manages to swipe him away. Roxy, Chica, and Monty all do their thing dealing with Moon so that Freddy and Gregory can take care of Vanny. Vanny tries to struggle and get away, but Freddy is much stronger than her and won't let her go. He sits her down in a chair and Gregory ties her up with a chain. Seeing as how she can't get away, Gregory takes off her rabbit head to reveal Vanessa. Her eyes are now glowing purple as she gives him a demented grin, telling him that what he's doing is pointless. "I'll go free and you'll be dead," she says. "You're right, you will be free, but not in the way you're thinking. Now, Freddy!" Gregory signals to Freddy and the robot bear puts a VR helmet over Vanessa's head. Gregory sits across from Vanessa in a chair and puts a separate VR helmet on.
Ready?
Freddy asks. Gregory nods. "Ready, Freddy." Freddy turns the machine on and says, "Good luck, superstar." The world suddenly goes black. Suddenly, Gregory finds himself in a completely different place in the Pizzaplex. He's outside in some forest on a sunny day. Looking down at his hands, he thinks to himself how weird this is, but the plan must have worked. So, where's Vanessa? Gregory walks around the forest searching for signs of life before he hears some screaming. Following the sounds, he runs to find a featureless, somewhat pixelated adult hunched over a cliff. The screaming was coming from down below. What's happening?" Gregory asked the adult, but the adult didn't respond to him. Gregory peeked over the cliff and saw 3 little children, one of which were scratched and bruised but otherwise all right. They all looked scared and were huddled on a small rock protrusion sticking out from the side of the cliff. Below them looked like a drop that was more than a mile high. It looked unstable. 2 of the children, like the adult, were featureless and pixelated, but one of them had recognizable blonde hair and green eyes. Was that Vanessa? The adult was reaching down trying to lift up the kids, but had difficult time stretching. The little blonde girl was slightly taller than the other 2 children, so she was eventually able to stretch and hold the adult's hand, although it was very unstable. What's worse, the platform the children were standing on was shaky and crumbling. It would probably give way at any moment, dropping them to their dooms. There was no time to call firefighters or police or anything. They needed to be saved now. The blonde girl held onto the adult's hand and was able to be rescued back onto stable ground. The adult then reached down for another child to grab, but the other 2 were too short and couldn't reach them. The little blonde girl offered to get them. The adult didn't want to send her down, but they relented. Holding her feet tightly, the little girl was lowered down and was able to reach the other children. However, the little girl had little strength and would only be able to lift one at a time. The little girl had a hard time deciding who to get first, but seeing as how the platform was becoming less and less stable, she made her choice. She hugged onto one of the children tight, and the adult started to lift them up. As soon as the other child's feet left the platform, the surface immediately crumbled, dropping the remaining child who screamed for their life but was helpless as they fell to their death. The blonde girl cried, but helped to lift up the child she was already helping. When they both made it to safe ground, both children broke down into tears of despair. Gregory watches on in horror, unable to do anything. The scene then changes before his eyes into a pitch black void, and he watches as a little blonde girl is aggressively berated and blamed for letting that other child die by the dead child's parents and family. They ask her why she couldn't save them too. The little girl drops to her knees and shakily says, "It's all my fault. I made the wrong choice. It's all my fault. Nothing should be left to me ever again. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." The other people vanish, but the girl remains. Gregory, concerned for her, reaches out and runs to her. "Vanessa!" he cries out. But before he could reach her, a digital birdcage drops down from the sky right on top of the little girl, trapping her behind bars. Gregory tries to lift the cage, but touching it shocks him, so he recoils backwards. What is this?" Gregory asks. A deep, sinister chuckle echoes all around, and Gregory tries to find the source of it. Suddenly, a pixelated chain shoots out from the darkness and wraps around Gregory, making it impossible for him to move. He falls to the ground with a thud. He tries to break free, but is unable to. Sensing a presence, Gregory looks up to see a transparent, glitchy person wearing a bulky, deranged rabbit suit. It looked way more messed up and unsettling than Vanny's, if that's even possible. "You've put on quite the performance, young man. I must commend your achievements," said an unexpectedly refined British male voice. "What you've accomplished here is nothing less than amazing. You remind me of a younger version of myself." Who the heck are you?" Gregory asked. "My apologies. It's been so long since I've interacted with someone one-on-one, so I have forgotten my manners. My name is William Afton." The man in the rabbit suit bows. "William Afton? Are you the ghost possessing Vanessa? I freaking knew it!" Gregory proclaimed. Afton shakes his head. "A ghost? No, my dear boy, it's nothing like that. That isn't to say that I haven't had my own run-in with spirits. I, however, am something less supernatural, depending on your perspective. I am an artificial intelligence, an AI, created by the real William Afton. I was created in his likeness by his will. You can consider me as a digital copy of his consciousness. This way, I found a means for me to live forever. That virtual reality game served as my key to a new life." "So, you took over Vanessa's body? That's creepy," Gregory comments. "Where the heck is the real William Afton?" "To be honest, I'm not sure. We're separate entities, you see. He could be dead for all I know. That doesn't matter now. What matters is what I'm going to decide to do with you," Afton says as he takes off his bunny head to reveal a pixelated purple head and piercing yellow eyes. "You're in the same precarious situation that I caught Miss Vanessa in when this all started. I now have another opportunity to live again." "What? You're not taking my body!" Gregory exclaimed. "Gregory, my boy, you no longer have a choice. And speaking of choices," Afton walks over to the caged, crying child Vanessa. "This little girl was and is the perfect host because of how willing she is to be dominated. She's so afraid to make decisions for herself that she came to allow me to make all her decisions." He crouches down to her level and looks at her, addressing her. "Vanessa, you no longer have to be burdened by your past or making decisions. Making decisions is so hard, and you can easily screw up. Let me make all of your decisions from now on and allow yourself to disappear. Then you will be at peace." "I'll be at peace? That sounds nice," Vanessa weakly says. "Don't listen to him, Vanessa," Gregory shouts out. "Don't believe anything he says. He's just a creepy old guy who wants to take your life for himself. If he wants my life, he can take it. I don't want it anymore. I don't want to hurt anyone else," she tells him. "People have been getting hurt," Gregory tells her. "My friends at the Pizzaplex got killed because of him. Are you okay with that?" She doesn't respond. Gregory continues to try to reason with her. "You need to keep on living and put an end to this. Only you can do it. You can stop the killings." Vanessa's body tenses up. "Look, I'm only 9, but even I know that life is hard. Making decisions can be terrifying, and you have to live with the consequences. Sometimes that means bad things happen, and sometimes good things will happen. You enjoy the good, and you learn from the bad. Isn't that what growing up is?" Afton cuts in. "But why take the risk?
you might have to go through 1,000,000 bad things. Does that make the one good thing worth it?
Shut up, Gregory tells him. It definitely can. No, it will be worth it. No matter what, you have to at least try. It sucks to fail, but does it feel any better to just give up? No, Vanessa quietly answers. Then act like an adult already and try again. Keep trying, over and over and over and over and over until you get the good ending. You'll eventually make the right choice. But, for the record, I don't think you made the wrong choice that day on the cliff, Gregory tells her. She looks up at him. The way I saw it, you were only able to save one of those kids. If you did nothing, both of them would have died. But you saved one of them. Does their life not matter? You gave them a second chance. You're a hero. I'm a hero? She asked. Gregory gives her a confident grin. You're a security guard after all. That means you're strong, right? Afton laughs and says she's only a security guard because he told her to get the job. He's the one who even made it possible for her to get the position despite her not having any experience. It has nothing to do with her strength. However, Vanessa didn't hear that part. The only thing she registered was that she was a hero. She did something good. She made a good choice. Making that choice was better than not acting at all. And that's true now as well. I choose to live. Vanessa's body glows brightly as she breaks out of her cage. Her body grows to her adult self, but she's wearing the princess's outfit from the Princess Quest game. Only now she has a sword. Afton, taken aback, summons a horde of black glitch monsters, but Vanessa manages to slice them up and take them out. No matter how many he sends her way, she defeats. In the blink of an eye, she stands before Afton, who's looking at her in horror.
No, wait, you can't do this, he cries out.
So why does it feel like I can? She mercilessly slices him in half before swiftly slicing his pixel self into tiny pieces. The tiny pieces then pixelate away into thin air, and the void goes from pitch black to a bright white. Gregory is now free as his chains disappear. He stands up, and he and Vanessa smile at each other. Back in the real world, the animatronics watch over a motionless Moon who was lying face down on the ground. That was when they heard stirring from Vanessa and Gregory. The two humans take the VR helmets off their heads and collectively sigh. The animatronics ask how things went among a flurry of other questions. Vanessa just looks up at all of them and says, I am so sorry for what I've done. For what I made all of you do. Gregory assures her that it wasn't her but Afton who was controlling her. She didn't want to do any of those things. Roxy then says, Sounds like you were no better off than the rest of us. Who knew that humans could be reprogrammed as well? Still though, Vanessa says, I don't know what I'm going to do. Vanny, Afton, whatever, ruined so much of my life. Don't worry, I'll help you get through it, Gregory tells her. I'd say you already took a great first step. All of a sudden, the former Moon animatronic pops up and is Sun again. He rushes over to Vanessa and hugs her, repeatedly saying how he's glad she's okay. Wait, you two are friends? Gregory asked. You can say that, Vanessa said. What, you think you're the only one around here who's allowed to befriend robots? She motions over to Freddy. Gregory smiles at her as Freddy says bluntly, I'm happy for you both to be all right, but now we must make things right. The deceased children's families deserve to know where their missing kids are. Vanessa's expression grows grim and full of guilt. She leads everyone to a storage room that no one goes to and shows them that Vanny has been storing the children's bodies in there. With the help of the animatronics who were able to assist, the bodies of the children were placed out in the parking lot of the Pizzaplex and tarps were placed over them. Vanessa and Gregory wrote a note explaining to the best of their ability what happened to the children and leave it taped to the tarps. The notes do not identify the murderer. Vanessa wonders if she should turn herself in. You're not the one who killed them. It was Afton, Gregory tells her. Freddy adds, The families deserve to know, but they won't be satisfied with the truth. They probably won't believe it. They'll want a physical person, and the only physical person is innocent. It is a difficult situation. Roxy says to Vanessa, They'll probably lock you up in a crazy house and try to brainwash you into thinking that everything was your fault. That outcome helps nobody. Well, what if I tell them that she's not lying? Gregory asked. Monty says, No offense, but you're just a kid. Ain't no one gonna believe you.
For someone super smart, you're pretty dumb, Roxy tells him.
Gee, thanks, guys, thanks.
Thanks a lot. Gregory looks down in dejection.
Chica hugs him and squeaks in robotic sounds.
I think she's trying to say something nice to you, Freddy tells him.
Thanks, Chica. Sorry again about your voice box, Gregory says. Vanessa tussles his hair. You got into a lot of mischief tonight, little man. You outsmarted me, a creepy AI, and a bunch of animatronics and robots. You're pretty amazing, you know that? Thanks for being a troublemaker. I owe you one. Gregory blushes and asks what will happen to the Pizzaplex.
I will burn it down, Freddy says. There's too much pain and bad memories there. And who knows if Afton left any part of himself behind.
Do you think there are ghosts around? Son asks. Maybe the spirits of the children are haunting the place. What if we're all possessed by them? Or the staff bots? Maybe they're possessed.
The only one possessed here is you. Possessed by idiocy, Roxy says.
Afton had been defeated, so the kid's soul should be at rest, hopefully. However, Afton went into Vanessa's head via the VR game. What if more people are possessed? Vanessa thinks she's the only one who figured out the way to access Afton. Probably. Moving forward, they'll just have to wait and see what happens. Sometime during the conversation, the animatronics realize they can't survive without their charging stations. They'll be shut down within the hour. They all prepare to say goodbye to Gregory and Vanessa. Gregory, however, realized this might be an issue and has been contemplating a solution for the past couple of hours. He just wasn't ready to say goodbye to any of them. Freddy set to motion his plan to put on fire the flammable merchandise inside of the Pizzaplex. The main 5 animatronics, Sun, Roxy, Chica, Monty, and Freddy, remained inside. With their permission, Gregory took out their memory and personality chips and escaped with Vanessa, allowing their lifeless shells to burn in the flames. The two of them left the scene as fire trucks and police cars started to arrive. The children's bodies were in an obvious place, so they had no doubt that they would be found. Vanessa and Gregory escaped from the scene successfully. Walking down the street, both exhausted, Gregory wonders out loud where he's supposed to go. He admits to Vanessa that he's been living at the Pizzaplex for a long time. She says she knows. He tells her that he was supposed to be with his foster family, but they were all jerks, which is why he decided to leave. They don't like me. And if I go back, they'll be even meaner to me before dumping me with another family, he tells her. I'm always getting tossed away. Vanessa thinks for a few moments. I might have a solution. What if my parents adopt you? What? He asked. Yeah, my folks are the sweetest and most supportive people you'll ever meet. I didn't appreciate them as much as I should have growing up, given how I was going through some stuff, but I know that they were always there for me. Plus, they had me when they were both teenagers, so they're still pretty young. I haven't spoken to them in a long time since the VR incident. No doubt they're worried about me. She stops walking. I really need to call them. As soon as she's able, Vanessa calls up her parents. They had in fact been super worried about her the past several years, and even more so when she just cut them out of her life. They didn't berate or scold her, they just cried and said how much they missed her. Vanessa began to cry as well. Mom, Dad, I can't tell you everything that happened, but I want to tell you about a pretty cool kid I met and how he saved my life. Gregory listened on in anticipation. Cut to a year later. Gregory had been adopted into Vanessa's family. The parents were all too happy to adopt him after hearing about how he saved Vanessa, with some details cut out, and they were super impressed by how smart he was. Gregory also managed to create mini animatronics in which he implemented the personality and memory chips of the ones he met at the Pizzaplex. So now, Gregory always has the company of Mini Roxy, Mini Monty, Mini Chica, and Mini Freddy whenever he needs them. And Vanessa carries around Mini Sun, who turns into Mini Moon at night. Mini Moon now has the same personality as Mini Sun, his appearance just changes. Both Vanessa and Gregory attend therapy and both are doing well. The brother and sister have a tight bond and promise to always have each other's backs. Well done, superstar. And that's all there is. There isn't any more.